it's really incredible to be at this place where I can see all of this coming into fruition, one thing after the other. And I feel like the more appreciative I am of each of these wins, the more they lead to another great win.
Welcome to the Chingona Revolution podcast, where we will bring out your inner badass Latina, overcome self-doubt, help you gain clarity, and pave your own path, all while leading with courage. I am your host, Latina coach and speaker, Revekka Cruz. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to this week's episode of Chingona Revolution podcast. I love having repeated guests on, but I don't think I've ever had a guest on this quickly and to share a bunch of new wins and to celebrate this individual. And this person is none other than Revekka, who has been a client. I want to say almost we're coming up on a year of her being my client. And it has been such an honor to work with an individual that is purpose-driven, is constantly inspiring me. And I really do learn a lot from my clients. And Revekka, I think you are one of those clients that inspires me to do what I do. And I'm just honored to be in your energy. I'm so glad we were able to meet in person. So Revekka, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. I was so excited to be asked again. I was like, wow, really? You want to talk to me some more?
So for those of you who are listening to this episode and maybe have not had a chance to listen to the first episode that Revekka and I did, it is episode 136. And in this episode, we talk all about how she did this one thing. She worked on this one project that led to weight loss, healing, and revenue. And it was really about leaning into your purpose and how that inevitably will create profit. And this conversation isn't too far-fetched from that, but when I thought you really just could have had the best success story, you just went and leveled it up and blew my own mind. And I think that is incredible. So, I mean, this is pretty much an open-ended question, but can you just tell us, for the people who haven't listened to episode 136, can you just tell us who you are and what you do? Just a quick little overview of you.
Absolutely. So my name is Revekka Balancier. I'm the founder of a purpose-driven marketing agency called Axiom of Purpose. And we define purpose as anything with a positive social or environmental impact. So on the social side, like great community projects, and on the environmental side, anything that's supporting sustainability.
Amazing. It's just so in alignment. I think this is why we mesh so well, because it's so in alignment with my business as well, because Courage Driven Latina used to be called Purpose Driven Latina before we had to change the name. And as soon as you came into my sphere, I was like, I love everything that you're doing. And I also think that that is the key to your abundance, right? Because it's never about making money just to make money. It's about making an impact, and inevitably you're making money because it's coming from this place of service. And I think that's a big thing that we've worked on over the last few months inside of the mastermind, which is how can you transition from focusing on yourself to focusing on service? And that's really the key to abundance. And you are a perfect example of that. So 4 months ago, you were already killing it. And in the last 4 months, there's been so much more abundance. And I think that's really the theme for you. The theme is abundance of business, but abundance of creativity, abundance of confidence. There's been so much abundance that's come into your life. So can you tell us where you were 4 months ago and where you are now? And for those of you who haven't listened to the last episode, Revekka was in Courage Driven Latina, where she worked on a creative project, which really got her creative juices flowing. She was already abundant. And we were just getting started with Magnetic Mastermind when we recorded episode 136. And at this point, we're 4 months in. We still have 2 months left. And Revekka's already killed it. So tell us a little bit about the before and after from 4 months ago until now.
So I want to start even a little bit earlier, because in almost a year ago, November is when I joined Courage Driven Latina. And I was paralyzed at that point, right? Like I was really paralyzed at that point where I felt very stuck, didn't know which way to go. I was really dealing with anxiety, and I was just and I was worried about my business and building a pipeline for it because I'd not had a very good year as far as new business is concerned. So that is when I came to you because I'd felt like I'd lost my courage. I joined Courage Driven Latina, and through my Courage project, which was a poetry project, I just really started to see like my confidence return, my creativity return. I landed some new clients, some nice new projects that really like just bolstered my momentum. And then I was like, if I had that much success in Courage Driven Latina, now that I know that you have Magnetic Mastermind, I'd really love to join this as well and take it to the next level. And that's exactly what's happened. So since I joined Magnetic Mastermind, I've secured even more projects and contracts. Some really great things happening. I mean, the number of opportunities coming my way, I just feel like has been phenomenal. And I feel like the reason I'm getting all of these different opportunities is because I've really learned to understand what magnetism is, right? And I think that there's this idea like, oh, you think you're so charming, right? Like no, I what it is that I know exactly who I am. I know exactly what I do. I know exactly who I want to work with, and I'm very intentional about putting that out into the world so that the right clients, the right projects find their way to me very easily, right? So, I have just absolutely loved being part of the program and really shifting my mindset towards thinking about like, I don't have to go try and chase the right opportunities. It doesn't mean that I'm not going after them, that I'm not taking steps to get in front of the right people and get in front of the right clients. But this is what we do. This is who we are. This is what our agency stands for. And we know that the right projects are out there and are going to find us. If something doesn't work out, it's okay because it wasn't right for us. And the ones that do work for us are exactly where we need to be.
That was so beautifully said. I really do believe that a key to magnetism is authenticity. And you just said it beautifully, because when you are authentic, the right opportunities are going to find you. And when you're not authentic, those that are not in alignment are going to come to you. And then that's when you feel resistance because you're like, I can't say no to business. And then it gets very, very muddy, and it doesn't feel this like, oh, okay, this is great. This feels exactly like what I should be doing. It doesn't feel like purpose. So I want to mention one quick thing before we move forward. That's just a life and a business lesson. So, because for people that are listening, they might have this misconception that once you have a business or once you kind of figure out what you're doing in life, you won't face any type of adversity. You already had built a business that was profitable, that was a multiple six-figure business whenever you came to Courage Driven Latina. And you were going through a season of where you had almost lost touch with yourself and lost touch with your confidence or with your courage. And I feel like I've recently gone through a season like that as well. And we both have businesses that have grossed over $1 million. We both have businesses that have impacted so many lives, and we still have gone through this. And I think when people go through this, that is where a lot of business owners give up, because it feels permanent and it feels like things will never get better. But if you can overcome the downturn or the adversity, you tend to come back way stronger. And I feel like you are a perfect example of that. I have this slingshot analogy that I've mentioned in some podcast episodes where it's like sometimes you have to pull back to redirect and go forward. And I feel like when you and I cross paths, you were in that slingshot moment where you were kind of pulling back, reevaluating, refining yourself, and getting in touch with your why again. And then you just skyrocketed forward. So for the people listening, right, who are going through adversity, know that this is not permanent. And if you could get through this, you will not just, get back to where you were, you'll get further ahead. So tell us, like, what has this slingshot been for you? You took steps back and now you've slingshotted forward. Where are you today?
Busy. good busy, very good busy. Lots of great projects. I had a kickoff for a new project this morning, right before we got on. I'm teaching a workshop this afternoon to another client, which includes like a multitude of nonprofit partners that we're doing some capacity building for. And I am leaving next week to travel to Denver, where I'll be spending the day with a client and all of their partners doing some workshop and messaging training on some new stuff that we put together. And it just feels amazing that I get to fill my time with only purpose-driven projects, working with nonprofits, working with states, working with counties, working on mental health programs, working on anti-hate campaigns. Like these are just exactly the kind of work that we want to be doing. And we have so much of it that I'm like, okay, I need some help over here. Anybody else want to do purpose-driven work with me? Because we need more people who are bought into purpose with us and can make all of those things happen with us. And so it is just like, it's an incredible feeling that I get to be this busy and this successful standing on purpose.
Yes, I remember when the coaching at first was like, I need more business. And now the coaching is, I'm overwhelmed. I have so much business. And it's such a good problem to have, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, I just want to celebrate you because when I looked at your list of wins, I was like, this is incredible. And we still have a few more months to go.
Mm-hmm.
So, one of the things that you mentioned as we were celebrating all of these different wins from everybody in the group, you mentioned that your mindset has completely shifted since joining Magnetic Mastermind. Can you share what specific mindset changes have had the biggest impact on your success?
Wow. So one of the big ones that I just had an aha moment on was thinking like, I don't need more business. I don't need more money. I don't need more clients. What I really want is to do more good, right? And if I am focused more on like, how am I serving? Do I have amazing purpose-driven projects that I get to deliver into the community as part of the service that I give the world, right? Like that's why I started this agency, and that's the kind of work that I want to do. And I have team members who luckily believe in that also. And so I know that that's the kind of work that inspires them, gets them motivated, that makes them want to participate fully in everything that we're doing and be as productive as possible and make things happen. And I mean, literally when I shifted from like, I really need to manifest a new project to I really need to do more good work, I got a phone call that day, right? From the people who I did the kickoff meeting with this morning. So it was like, okay, like when you really focus on your why and what you're trying to achieve, not the outcomes of that or not the lead up to that, right? But like, I love to do good work that serves the community well. It like fills me up inside. And so it's like, if I just focus on that, then the universe gives me more of that. So it was pretty awesome.
Yeah. And I think a big part of that is you were clear on what you wanted,
Mm-hmm.
which is the first step in being magnetic. You have to be clear on what you want, not how you're going to get it or when you're going to get it, but what it is that you want and why it is that you want it. And that's really the key to being magnetic. And you've embodied that so well. So since joining the mastermind, you've attracted many opportunities, many opportunities, everything from podcast invites to trips. And I'm curious as to how did the process of being magnetic help you attract these opportunities without chasing them?
So I think it's almost a domino effect, right? So we've done some work on content, right, for social media, and social media isn't like the biggest way that we get business. However, I feel like it's really important for just having a platform that explains to people who we are, what we believe in, and what we do. And then because of that, I've had, for example, opportunities. Someone locally asked if I'd be interested in being a mentor to somebody who was in their like cohort in their business incubator program, another Latina who does marketing, who does partnership marketing. And so through that trip or through that connection, she was attending a conference somewhere and so was like, I think this would be great for you also, we should both go. And so then now we're both going to LA together for this conference. And so it's just things like that where it's, I already had the contact at the business incubator, but being really forward about who I am and what I do is like, oh, there's synergy here. Let me get you two together, right? And then that that person who owns the other marketing agency, we are collaborating on a project that we're really excited about in San Diego. So that's going to be a nice impact driven program. And that one who runs the business incubator started his own nonprofit. And now the three of us are collaborating. So it's just like when you really put out into the world what you believe in, people are like, oh, I know somebody who believes in that and you believe in that, and let me connect you. And so
Yes.
it's pretty cool.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. And you briefly mentioned also like posting on social media, and I feel like what that has also done is it just makes you visible.
Mm-hmm.
And you're so good at being visible. And the difference between being magnetic or chasing would be you sliding into everybody's DMs, pitching yourself with having really nothing to show for. Being magnetic is showing up and being visible and telling people what you stand for, providing value, which is exactly what you do with your content. It's exactly what you do anytime you're in a room, whether you're in person or online. And that can then remind people, oh yeah, Revekka, axiom of purpose. Oh yeah. And you're just like top of mind for people. And I feel, and then also providing excellent service to the people that you're already working with, because a lot of your business is repeated business. And that just goes to show the quality of your work and the quality of your relationships. And that is also a key part of being magnetic, right? You're not just chasing new and new opportunities. You are focusing on what's in front of you and coming at it from this place of gratitude. And I feel like that just is magnetic on its own.
Absolutely. And I feel just so thankful that my clients and I have good relationships. I remember once working at an agency where they were like, well, you just have to face the fact that you're not going to have good relationships with your clients. And I was like, what? Like, what kind of a life is that? Like, all our life is clients, and you
Yeah.
can absolutely have great relationships with your clients. They can be your friends, your mentors, your confidants. Like, we have great relationships, and it's partly the relationship and partly the work that we do for them. And we believe in going above and beyond and delivering because it's part of that community service aspect. And so I think that because they appreciate that, right? And we are so aligned, like we have terrific relationships. And when they have an opportunity or they have an opportunity to refer me to somebody else, I see that happening. And so that's a great feeling.
Amazing. Yeah. I can't imagine living. I mean, we just spend so much time in our business and so much time working to be like, oh yeah, I'm just not going to have a good relationship with them. It just goes to show that there's so many ways of doing business.
Mm-hmm.
And the traditional way of doing business where it's just transactional is outdated. And I don't think that's where we're going anymore as a society. We're really craving more human connection and authenticity, which is exactly what you're providing. So it doesn't surprise me at all that you keep getting repeated business, because just like you enjoy working with your clients, I'm sure they enjoy working with you as well.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine being like sitting here and not liking you as a person. I can't imagine having you as a client and being like, oh, I have to talk to Revekka today. No, I'm like, yay, I get to talk to Revekka today. I'm like trying to plan a trip because I'm like, oh, Revekka's in San Diego. I also have to see somebody else in San Diego. So I'm like coordinating around that. If you're a female entrepreneur or creator, and that includes aspiring ones too, then listen up. You're invited to my free live webinar, The Magnetic Method: How to Build Influence and Manifest Opportunities Without Hustling. This is happening on Monday, October 21st at 5 p.m. PST. During the webinar, I'm going to be sharing the exact magnetic method that has helped me and my clients attract hundreds of clients and tons of amazing opportunities, all without chasing, pitching, or grinding. To give you an idea, one of my clients made over $150,000 in new sales in just 4 months. Another client manifested a pregnancy and set up her business so that she could take maternity leave. One doubled her follower count, and another one landed 13 speaking engagements. These are just a few examples of what is possible. During the webinar, you are going to learn how to manifest your biggest life and business goals without falling into the common manifestation mistakes. You're going to learn how to build intentional influence that naturally pulls in the right clients and opportunities. You're also going to learn how to take aligned action that feels good and not exhausting. This is for you if you've been stuck in the belief that success requires constant hard work and you're ready to shift out of survival mode. It's also for you if you want to attract your ideal clients and opportunities without having to slide into people's DMs or feel super sleazy and salesy. Maybe you've been trying a bunch of different things, but you're not seeing results and you're ready to take action, but you just want to be really intentional with your action and you want to make sure it works. And lastly, this is for you if you know you're meant for something bigger, but you've been doubting if your big goals are even possible. Register by going to the Erica Cruz, that's Erica with a K.com/magnetic. Or you can just use the link down below in the show notes. And just so you know, after the webinar, the doors for Magnetic Mastermind will open. I've been getting a lot of DMs with questions asking me when I'm going to open the doors for this program again. If you're not familiar with it, Magnetic Mastermind is for creators and entrepreneurs who are ready to manifest 3 core opportunities in 6 months by becoming magnetic. The doors are opening right after the webinar on October 21st, and they are only open for 7 days. The doors close on October 30th, and I don't want you to miss this because we will not have an enrollment again until sometime next year. So if you are interested in this program, be ready. Talk to your partner. The doors open right after the webinar on October 21st. Mark your calendar. Again, I will see you on Monday, October 21st for the Magnetic Method webinar. It's happening at 5 p.m. PST. Go to the Erica Cruz, that's Erica with a K /magnetic, or go to the link down below in the show notes. I'll see you there.
I want to go back to something you said about sliding into people's DMs because it was really that like made me feel like this is the right mastermind for me, because I had been pitched on a few other masterminds and I had kind of listened to like their whole spiels. Like one I spent an entire day with, right? Like doing like a day long like example of what it might be, and just, listened to these other like kind of programs and what they would do for me and how they would work. And they didn't feel great. They didn't feel aligned. They didn't feel like, one was like, you've got to be doing cold calls every day. And I was like, I have spent almost 30 years becoming like an expert in marketing, and you want me to become a telemarketer. Like I don't think I can do that. Right. Like, and then I was like depressed because I was like, if that's the only way to grow my business, right. Another one, was like, we're working on scaling every single person to $1 million. And like, if this is where you want to be, this is what you need. And I was like, what I really want is for my projects to be purpose driven and not just focused on the dollars. And so it doesn't feel right that I'm going to join a group that's just focused on getting to $1 million. It doesn't feel purpose aligned, right? And then when you started to post about like, if you do not want to slide into people's DMs and you do not want to chase after things, this is the mastermind for you. And I was like, that feels right, right? That feels like I don't want to spend my time like basically exploiting my network. I want to develop good relationships with my network so they know who I am, they know what I stand for, they know what when I'm available, and then they offer things to me based on that like long-term good relationship, not because I sent them a message and was like, "Hey, will you please send me referrals?" Right? Like it should just be a lot more organic than that, and I felt like you really understood that and were helping to develop that into like a lot more strategic effort. And so I was like, oh yeah, this is the mastermind for me.
If you're a female entrepreneur or creator, and that includes aspiring ones too, then listen up. You're invited to my free live webinar, The Magnetic Method: How to Build Influence and Manifest Opportunities Without Hustling. This is happening on Monday, October 21st at 5 p.m. PST. During the webinar, I'm going to be sharing the exact magnetic method that has helped me and my clients attract hundreds of clients and tons of amazing opportunities, all without chasing, pitching, or grinding. To give you an idea, one of my clients made over $150,000 in new sales in just 4 months. Another client manifested a pregnancy and set up her business so that she could take maternity leave. One doubled her follower count, and another one landed 13 speaking engagements. These are just a few examples of what is possible. During the webinar, you are going to learn how to manifest your biggest life and business goals without falling into the common manifestation mistakes. You're going to learn how to build intentional influence that naturally pulls in the right clients and opportunities. You're also going to learn how to take aligned action that feels good and not exhausting. This is for you if you've been stuck in the belief that success requires constant hard work and you're ready to shift out of survival mode. It's also for you if you want to attract your ideal clients and opportunities without having to slide into people's DMs or feel super sleazy and salesy. Maybe you've been trying a bunch of different things, but you're not seeing results and you're ready to take action, but you just want to be really intentional with your action and you want to make sure it works. And lastly, this is for you if you know you're meant for something bigger, but you've been doubting if your big goals are even possible. Register by going to the Erica Cruz, that's Erica with a K.com/magnetic. Or you can just use the link down below in the show notes. And just so you know, after the webinar, the doors for Magnetic Mastermind will open. I've been getting a lot of DMs with questions asking me when I'm going to open the doors for this program again. If you're not familiar with it, Magnetic Mastermind is for creators and entrepreneurs who are ready to manifest 3 core opportunities in 6 months by becoming magnetic. The doors are opening right after the webinar on October 21st, and they are only open for 7 days. The doors close on October 30th, and I don't want you to miss this because we will not have an enrollment again until sometime next year. So if you are interested in this program, be ready. Talk to your partner. The doors open right after the webinar on October 21st. Mark your calendar. Again, I will see you on Monday, October 21st for the Magnetic Method webinar. It's happening at 5 p.m. PST. Go to the Erica Cruz, that's Erica with a K.com/magnetic, or go to the link down below in the show notes. I'll see you there. Oh, thank you for saying that. And, I think for the outside eye looking in, it's hard to differentiate the difference between chasing and taking aligned action, but there is a difference. And the difference is the energy in which you feel in your body. So cold DMing somebody or cold calling, I mean, you're calling people who haven't even expressed interest. And the reason that doesn't work is because I get cold calls all the time. I don't answer, or like I'll answer and say, I'm not interested. You're constantly experiencing this rejection because they didn't ask for that. And that can then affect your belief. But on the opposite end of taking aligned action, you've gotten invitations to submit proposals for jobs. You're still technically pitching yourself, right? But it's not a cold pitch. It's an invitation to pitch. Or Daisy, who's in the mastermind, who has her book, her poetry book. She has so many examples of schools that she's spoken at where she's done spoken words or done speaking engagements that when she slides into schools DM, she's like, hey, I've already spoken here. Are you all looking for someone? It's coming from a different place of rather than just like cold DMing and trying to slide in and pitch herself in a way where people didn't ask for it. So she's already validated, right? And I think for you, you're still posting on social media, you're still attending events, you're still networking, and that is what aligned action is. But cold calling, and that's just, in my opinion, a little bit of, that's an energy sucker. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of energy. And then it affects your belief when people don't answer or don't respond to you. And specifically you in the program, part of what we look at is your human design to see how to run your business. And you as a generator, your strategy is to respond. So whenever people are like, hey, we have this proposal we think you might be good at, responding is your thing. Right. It's also, I think, why you're such a great interviewer. As soon as I ask you a question, you're ready to respond. And that is the strategy in which you take best action. And not all businesses should be run the same. Like, you should really leverage your energetic blueprint. And I feel like you've done an amazing job of doing that. So thank you for saying that. And one of the questions, you've already pretty much answered it, but I'll still ask this because it has a little bit of a different approach. Of all the business masterminds you could have joined, being that you already had a business with a lot of clients, and what about Magnetic Mastermind stood out to you? Why did you choose a spiritual business mastermind versus maybe any of these other ones? So I guess I'll kind of adjust the question. What spiritual aspect of it drew you to it versus these others?
So I think that for me, it was knowing that like you had kind of like brought all of these different aspects together for us. So there's the meditation aspect, we do some tarot, we do the human design work. We really like are focused on like visualization exercises, right? Like I absolutely love those, and I feel like I have been in marketing for 27, 28 years now, right? Like I know my strategy, I know my business. I think like on an intellectual level, I have ideas for what to do, right? But it's where we get caught up like spiritually and in our mindset and in our confidence and beliefs and about what is possible, and like removing some of those internal barriers, right, that we set up for ourselves. Like when you're aligned spiritually, that's when you achieve flow, right? You get to that place where everything is working together when you have the right spiritual, emotional, physical mindset, when those are all working together. And I knew that you had like really spent some time focusing on those things. And I was like, I need more of that. I need more of that. And so that's why I think that like the spiritual component that you offered was so enticing to me. And I feel like that has absolutely come to fruition.
Yes, I agree. And this all sounds great for the people hearing, but now let's just look at the receipts. Let's look at some of Revekka's wins over the last 4 months. So you've really had some amazing wins. Like you secured $70,000 in contracts in a week.
Yep.
I remember whenever you shared this win with us, I was like, do you remember making $70,000 a year? And you just secured $70,000 in a week?
Mm-hmm.
In the last 4 months, you've secured $150,000 in sales.
Mm-hmm.
And then you also hit your $1 million total gross revenue, right? So this is since having your business. And now the next goal is like $1 million a year, but doing it in a way that feels in alignment with these spiritual practices, purpose driven. So there's even more wins though. There's even more wins. So you also won an award. Do you want to tell us a little bit about the award?
I do. It is I'm looking at it. It's the 2024 Latina Community Minded Contributor from the National Latina Business Women's Association. They had a cruise and an event and they took nominations and someone invited me and I was like, "Oh wow, yes, that's awesome." And then I went and was like, "Oh wow, they just announced my name," right? Like I was so excited to win and so like thankful that the category that I was nominated in was community minded contributor and that is what I won for, right? That like it's that community service aspect of what we do that people appreciated and recognized me for. And I feel like when you're recognized for the things that you care about, it's just
Yeah.
so validating that you're doing the right thing. Mm.
Yes. Okay, this is very on brand. We can't control what happens. We can only control how we respond. And Revekka's fire alarm just went off. So, because she is so abundant and busy, we're just going to keep going with the podcast episode. So, what we were in the middle of doing, we're highlighting all of your incredible wins. So, you've had personal invitations to submit proposals. You've had 8 of those. You've had 3 collaboration invites. You've had 3 podcast interview invitations. Well, we can say 4 with this one. You have attended conferences where you had personal invitations. That's 2 of those. And you've had 12 trips. You've also manifested a new business idea, which I cannot wait for that to come into fruition because we will have you back on the show whenever we have you talk about that. You also have another project you're working on, which is almost like a part 2 of the Courage Project. We'll have you back on the podcast to talk about that. Plus all of the wins we just mentioned, 150K in revenue in the last 4 months, 70K in contracts secured. So what role do you think being in the mastermind and being magnetic had on all of these wins?
Uh, I mean, I think that this kind of place of abundance for me has really just been um, it's been a long time coming. It's been growth on top of growth, right? So I feel like what's been happening is when I have a win and it feels good and it feels like the right thing, I continue to do things in that mindset, in that energy, and then it leads to another and it leads to another. So I feel like it's been like this backwards domino effect, right? Where it's like we're not toppling things down, we're standing everything up, right? So it's just been like this really incredible, like every time something goes well, another thing goes well. And like, for example, the 150,000, that's actually been a new business secured on top of like what I have. And I've had like just month after month of like revenue growth that's like breaking my own records, right? It's like, well, May was the highest month this year. Well, nope, now June was the highest month this year. Well, no, now August was the highest month this year, right? So I'm just seeing that like, oh wow, this is like the new normal right now, right? So it's really incredible to be at this place where I can see all of this coming into fruition, one thing after the other. And I feel like the more appreciative I am of each of these wins, the more they lead to another great win. So, really focusing on that, like, how do you fully embrace every single small win as a win and like not being disappointed when something doesn't come through because it's like that wasn't meant for me, that's not the energy that it the energy that I want to attract. We're letting that go and we're focusing on the good stuff because that's what we want to attract more of. And I feel like that has really been a shift for me that has come out of like our calls, right? When you're coaching all of them. And sometimes I'm just quiet, I just listen. And as you're coaching all of the different members of our mastermind, it really helps me to see like, oh, I can like observe what's working and what isn't. And so it's a really great I just like I love everyone in our mastermind and like learning from each other and learning from their wins and their setbacks at the same time has been really terrific.
Wow, that was So well said. And I want to go back to a few things. You talked about the dominoes. So I think people wait to feel magnetic until all of these outside things have come into fruition. But what I envisioned when you talked about the reverse domino effects is like you were that first piece.
Mhm.
It took Revekka becoming magnetic and having this mindset shift of there's an abundance of opportunities. The right ones are going to work out. And if they don't work out, it wasn't for me anyway. Let me just express gratitude because that's how I'm going to keep getting more. That is literally magnetism all packaged up and simplified. That was such a great summary of what it really does mean to be magnetic. And I feel like you became magnetic, and that's when all these other things began to happen. And it's really easy to fall out of magnetism whenever something doesn't work out. But what I hear you saying is learning to trust and surrender because the right stuff is going to work out. And I really think the key to that is coming at it from a place of gratitude and abundance rather than lack.
Mhm.
And that's maybe why one of your favorite months inside of the mastermind was the abundance activation. Do you want to tell us about what is abundance activation?
So we did this meditation visualization exercise every day for 30 days in July. And it was, I mean, like phenomenal for me. And part of the exercise talks about how you have this abundance of creativity and you learned to understand what you have the ability to create, and that there's a line in there where he says everyone who comes in contact with you will also feel your abundance and have their own abundance just by having come into contact with you. And I felt like the biggest abundance that I noticed during the month was friendship. I mean, the abundance of friendship that I have in my life already was phenomenal, and really like taking the time to recognize and appreciate that during that month. Like people who I had been friends with for years, but maybe hadn't talked to in a very long time were suddenly like just calling me and catching up. I mean, one time, 3 people in one day just reached out and were like, I've been thinking about you and wanted to call you. And it was like, had these great catch up conversations with them with 3 different people in one day. And I was like, universe is telling me that like, this is the time to be in friendship. And one of my friends, I was in Denver for part of the month, and one of my friends said, like, man, like, I have met more hot guys in the past 2 weeks since you've been here. Like, I don't know what's going on. She's like, it's the Revekka factor, like when you're in town. And I was like, it's because I'm meditating every day. You are like getting the abundance from me. You're welcome.
I love it. Oh, I love it so much. And I remember your friends were like, keep meditating, Revekka, because we're loving the Revekka factor.
It was great. It was great. And I will say that I have really struggled with meditation in the past. And this is the first time that I feel like it's working for me. I get it. I usually give up so easily because I'm like, I can't clear my mind. I've got too much going on. I have too much to think about. And like, I think you have a podcast on meditation where you talk about the clouds going by and really being able to observe the clouds, right? You're observing your thoughts and your thought patterns and your thought processes. And that was a big shift for me. And now I loved the abundance activation so much that I looked up like all kinds of other meditations and visualizations and continued after that month. And normally I have always been like, I can't meditate. I don't have time to meditate. It doesn't work for me. Like, I can't clear my mind. And now I'm like, you should listen to this abundance meditation. You should listen to this meditation. You should listen to this meditation. I'm sending them to my friends. So I have a whole playlist on Spotify. So I just think it's like, it's been a really big game changer for me.
Oh, I love that. And I think the reason this meditation is so effective is because it really does encourage us to, especially busy minded folks, it encourages you to visualize what it is that you want to create.
Mhm.
So not only are you calming your physical body and getting into this place of calmness, which we just make better decisions from that state anyway, you're then intentionally creating your future. And the brain doesn't know the difference between something that's imagined or something that's real. And whenever we allow ourselves to repeatedly imagine what it is that we want to create, we're more likely to create it because it becomes something familiar in our brain. We create the neural pathways for it, which makes it easier for it to come into fruition, which is no surprise that from that month, you came out with a new business idea. You came out with another project idea, an abundance of friendships. And I think there's also something beautiful about us all doing it in community. So you had already talked about this a few questions ago, where sometimes you were just quiet on the calls, because a lot of people can be like, oh, I just want to work with a coach one-on-one. But I also think there's something great about an intimate community.
Mhm.
And so can you share with us the benefit of being in this container, whether it's like the abundance activation or even just the coaching calls, and doing it in community with other women who are looking to become magnetic and purpose driven?
I mean, I've had just some great epiphanies listening to other people's stories or their coaching process. Or, I remember once we did a workshop and a woman shared her story, and I was so triggered. I was sobbing, crying, right? Like, I was like, why did that hit me that way? And it took me some time afterward to process through it. But I was like, oh, yes, I have that also. And here's why I have it, which is a little bit different from the reasons why she has it. But like, it really helped me to put my finger on something that I had not addressed or realized was happening to me, right? And another time, one of the, like, you kind of start to recognize some of the things that you're like, oh, I'm doing that too, right? As I hear you coach someone on like, this is happening and I don't know why, and then you like work through it, and I'm like, oh, I recognize myself there, right? I really recognize myself in that. And so I think that it's amazing to like be able to learn about yourself while you're watching other people or listening or interacting with them, because we are very similar, right? We do have like connections between us that it's like we've all chosen to be in your mastermind, and we all have these beliefs. And so we've all got some like different backgrounds, of course, but we've also got some similarities in our backgrounds that are really helping us to like have that personal spiritual growth just through listening and interacting with others, and understanding their experiences better at the same time.
Oh man, yeah. What I heard from what you said was a lot of times individuals can act as a mirror for us to let us
Mhm.
see parts of ourselves that we maybe wouldn't have seen if it was just us doing this journey. And I mean, with every time we do the abundance activation as a group, I mean, we everybody loved it so much we're doing it again this coming month, right? Because we're like, we need it again. But there's always a beautiful energetic shift that happens in the group. Like levels of engagement go up, the manifestations that come out of that go up. Like in the last cohort, somebody manifested a pregnancy, somebody else manifested their first ever speaking engagement. This last time that we did it, people landed their first paid clients, people that hadn't had paid clients yet, right? For you, your business idea, and oh, just so many good things. I know you have a packed schedule. I do as well. I think one of the last questions that I have for you is, what would you say to a female entrepreneur who's thinking about joining Magnetic Mastermind, but they're not sure if either it's the right time or if it's going to work for them, or they just have, normal doubts, because when you don't, know exactly what goes on inside of a program, it's normal to have doubts. What would you say to them?
So I would say that this is for somebody who's ready to get to the next level, right? And if you feel like you are in this place where you're ready to receive. And I mean, being ready to receive is something that we talk a lot about, right? Like, you don't want to block. And so, in getting, either being in that place or understanding that you need to get to that place, that's who is going to, I think, receive the most out of this, right? I also think that I want to, like, I've always struggled with celebrating my wins a little bit. And when I see other people struggling to share their wins or minimizing them or skipping right over them, I want to be like, no, don't do that. Like, celebrate that, right? And so when I hit that $1 million mark, right, I cried. I was like, I did not expect to be this emotional. I did not expect to feel this way, but like, this is amazing. This is an amazing feeling that like my business has created this. I created this business, like my business has achieved this big milestone. It was a very emotional and gratifying win. And so I feel like for people who want to join the mastermind, it's like it's not just like all woo woo, right? Like there's the actual like business components that are falling into place that I feel like because I'm in the right energy and in the right space, it allows for all of that to happen. And so for people who are like, I know what I can be, I know what I can do, and I'm just not quite getting there, this is where like you learn to like stop blocking yourself and like fully achieve the success that you can. Like that's what I see and that's what I've gotten from it. So highly recommend.
I'm so glad that being in the container has allowed us to see your wins and to celebrate you because everybody loves you in the mastermind. We're all rooting for you. Is there anything that I didn't ask, anything that you feel called to share with the audience, either a piece of advice or another win of all the wins that we've already shared? If there's another win that maybe I didn't touch on, anything you want to highlight?
I think it was the law of cause and effect, like really helped me switch some thinking around. And it was about how like if the energy in why you're going after something is negative or like like if you're running from something or if you feel like you need it for this reason, like you don't ever get out of that in the effect. Like if you're if your cause is something positive and you are working towards something positive, then that is what's happening in the effect. And it was like the switch in my mindset meditations when I was like, what I want is more good work, right? Like I want to do more good in the world. Like that's what I'm going after. Then that's what you achieve. But if your mindset is, I just want more clients, then you might just get more clients, but it may not be like the kind of work that you want to do or that's aligned with you, or it might not be a good experience. So really shifting that, like making sure that my cause is as positive as I want my effects to be was just an absolute game changer for me. And I am so thankful that I learned that from you.
I love it. Oh man, this has been such a good interview and I hope that even individuals who don't have a business can still learn from this, right? Because you can still leverage being magnetic to attract opportunities, a partner, right? Like all of these concepts can be leveraged for dating, for example, right? So dating would be putting yourself out there and not sliding into guys' DMs. Please don't chase, but going to events and putting yourself out there and when it does work out, like be grateful for that or be grateful for all the dates that maybe ended up not working out, right? Because those weren't the people for you anyway. So all of these concepts you've talked about and even like the law of cause and effect, I feel like even that could be used for life as well. So even those people who are listening that don't have a business, I hope you found this valuable because all of these concepts can be used just for life in general. Revekka, this has been again a great interview, and I am sure that we're just going to have you right back on the podcast whenever all of these other things come into fruition. It has really been just such an honor to work with you, and I look forward to continuing to work with you in the mastermind. And thank you for being so open to share your realizations, your wins. You really are a thought leader and a leader in the space, and you deserve that reward, that award that you got, and many, many more. You can now say you are an award-winning CEO. You are an award-winning marketing agency. Like, how amazing is that? And again, just thank you for the work you do because you really are making a difference. And this purpose-driven work not only feels good internally, but like you're really changing lives. So thank you for the work you do. Thank you for being such an amazing client. And I will see you on the next call.
Sounds good. Thank you also. I appreciate you more than you know.
Thank you so much for joining me this week. Make sure to visit theericacruz.com. That's Erica with a K, where you can subscribe to the show so you'll never miss an episode. You can help this podcast grow by supporting me with an Apple Podcast rate and review. If you took anything away from this episode, I invite you to take a screenshot and share it on social media so that your favorite badass Latinas can also check it out. Be sure to tag me at the Erica Cruz. That's Erica with a K, because you know I want to see it. If you're ready to join the revolution and be a part of the Courage Driven Latina community, visit couragedrivenlatina.com to get more information and join the waitlist. Thanks again, and I'll see you next week.